Welcome to Boneheaded Boaters. Well, I finally got one for you boys. I don't do many jet skis, but I got one for you today. Check that bad boy out right there. What do you think? Is it fixable?
It's that time of year again. That's right, guys. We just hit fall spring, which was the first sign that we are getting close to boating season here in the Northern Hemisphere, which is going to bring us to our subject today, which is getting those vessels ready and everything around it ready to get out on the water. Welcome back, guys, to this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. And speaking of getting things ready for the season, let's get your drink game ready for the season as well with one of these brand new Drain Plug Mafia tumblers. Today, we're going to give one away. Really simple. All you have to do to be entered for a chance to win is hit the like button now, leave a comment at some point during the video, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And we're going to pick a random comment and somebody's going to win a tumbler, just like Shriver Beaver did last week. But let's go ahead and get this one started. Now, as we mentioned, it's starting to warm up and you're probably starting to get excited to get ready to get back out there on the water, but don't let that excitement overwhelm you. There are some things we have to take care of before you can just roll out and get that boat down to the boat ramp. And one of the first items we're going to talk about is probably one of the most neglected maintenance items in boating, and that is going to be your trailer. That's right, before you can even begin to think of towing your boat down to the ramp or towing it to the shop to get service, you need to go out there and inspect your trailer and make sure everything's still operational and functioning the way it's supposed to. There's several basic checks you can do when you first get ready to start to move that boat. First, go ahead and check the tires. Make sure the tire pressure is correct. Check for any signs of wear, maybe cracking or dry rot, and go ahead and check the date code on the tire as well. You never know, it might just be time to change them. Next, go ahead and do a visual inspection of your bearings and your brakes and make sure everything looks okay there. And lastly, check those trailer lights. All this is simple stuff that can be done in just a few minutes but can save you a lot of headaches down the road. Next, we're going to go do a visual inspection on the hull of the vessel. This is key. You never know exactly what happened to your vessel during the off-season. In fact, one year I actually had somebody back a camper into my boat during the off-season. I didn't know about it until months later. Now, once we get to this point, we're ready for some of the mechanical inspections of the vessel to make sure everything's still functioning and operating the way it's supposed to out there on the water. Now, before you just take the boat out on the water, start it up and try this stuff, let's start with doing some visual inspections. Once again, look for basic stuff. Look for any lines that may be dry rotted, any signs of fluid leakages, and double check those hose clamps. They rust easily, but these are all items that you can easily replace yourself. There's no reason to take your boat to a shop to do these basic inspections when you can save yourself $100 to $150 an hour on items that you can easily replace. And then next is your boat's actual maintenance. This one's a you call. If you like doing it yourself, great. If you like taking it to the shop, great. There's no wrong answer there, but do the service before you get the boat out on the water. And then we'll move on to some secondary systems, but they should still be primary in your mind. If you have a vessel that's equipped with a blower motor in the engine compartment, you're going to want to test that before you add any fuel or try and start the boat. Open the engine compartment, do a visual inspection before you even turn the blower motor on, make sure you don't smell any fuel, and if you don't, go ahead and hit the button, start it up, and make sure that motor works, and blow the engine compartment out really well before you try and add fuel or start the boat for the first time of the season. The next secondary system we're going to look at is the glorious bilge pumps. For whatever reason, it will always dumbfound me how people drop their boat in the water or get out and go anywhere without their bilge pump working. It is one of the first things I check before every single boating trip, and if my pump's not working, I'm not going out on the water. This really is a very simple check. There's several ways to do it depending on the type of bilge pump and location that you have. The first one, go ahead and manually hit the bilge pump button on your dash if you have one. Go back to your bilge area, listen, and make sure that motor turns on. If you have an automatic bilge pump as well, even if it turned on with that button, check the auto float switch as well and make sure your bilge pump is engaging with that also. And if you don't have an automatic bilge pump, I do highly recommend you go ahead and actually switch to one, because here's the reality with bilge pumps. If you're relying on a manual bilge pump where you have to press a button to turn it on, by the time you realize there's water in the bilge that's going to put you into trouble, it's almost probably too late. Versus an automatic bilge pump, when water begins to fill in the bilge, will just turn on. It's almost a warning sign, an alarm to say, hey, something's wrong, maybe you need to double check it. And one of the last things you want to check, you upgraded your boat or added a little extra weight or some new items onto your vessel, make sure you didn't exceed your towing capacity for the vehicle you're using to tow. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Gringo Oster, Americogo, Bradley Brown, Kyako Santiago, Hogan Scott, Chris Bordeaux, Janice Cortland, John, and Mike Schreckengoss did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.